explain the full mining process? So mm, not just the technical part of it, but if I so when I got in touch, what's that process for me as well to onboard and to get the machine set up and everything? So
Yeah, so I mean, the first part is definitely curiosity and interest. Like, could this be for me? And so you find someone like me or my team, and likely you're getting on a call where we're sort of discovering what are your goals, what are your needs, what are you really looking for, and how are you coming into this? Because we get people of all skill levels and knowledge levels from I've never set up a Bitcoin wallet to, I was mining 10 years ago. So the first step is get on a call and figure out where you are and where you want to be. And out of that, if you decide that mining is the right move for you, then the next step is essentially building a quote and processing payment. And then as soon as that is processed, depending on what kind of stock is available in the data center, you might be set up later that day. In your case, we had just sold out of units, so it took about a week for yours to come in.
wait, so
Um,
a lot better than 6 months.
a lot better than 6 months. So we guarantee that you're up and running within 3 weeks. We try to get it to under a week anytime that we can because I'm totally aware of how it feels to send $100,000 to someone and then have nothing happen for, more than a week or two. It's not a good feeling, even if you feel good about the people. And so we try to make sure that it's as smooth and easy of a process as possible.
Okay,
So
but as a newbie, like as a non-technical person, probably represented 90% of the my audience out there. Like, how do I even decide on the machines?
So that's part of the value of actually getting on a discovery call is to figure out what are you trying to do with this? Is this you trying to stack as much Bitcoin as possible and you're kind of not concerned about what your cash flow margins are, or do you want to be insulated as much as you can in any sort of market cycle? Because there's so many different variables to picking a machine. We only offer three because if we offered more, there would be far too much to consider. We have three that we would run any of those three and feel good recommending them to you. But the difference maker really is what do you think is going to happen to Bitcoin itself? And the more that you think Bitcoin will go up strongly, the less efficient of a machine you can get and still get a huge return. So, what do I mean by that? The most efficient machine available on the market is going to be at the highest premium, but it's also going to have the widest margins. So essentially, you will be producing Bitcoin at the most discount that you can get with the most efficient machine. And there's a premium attached to that. However, if you spend the same amount of upfront capital on a larger amount of less efficient machines, if Bitcoin, for example, crosses over, just as an easy example, $150,000 tomorrow and then stays there and then keeps growing at a accelerated rate, then the person who bought less efficient machines has more overall computing power to contribute to the network. And even though they're less efficient, the margins have grown so much that you're better served by having a larger amount of computing power than just more efficient computing power. So for people that don't really understand what they're getting into and want to be as insulated as possible, we're usually recommending the most efficient machine. For the people who are hyper bullish on Bitcoin, they either are getting a portfolio where they're getting a mix of different kinds of efficiency, or they're going all in on those slightly less efficient machines and really doubling down on the price of Bitcoin appreciating.
No, and then I got the wrong machines. I know I'm setting up a second batch, so can I change that now?
I think they're actually showing up like today or tomorrow.
Oh
It's okay, we can always get more.
no. Okay. All right. So, see, that's the value of talking, right? All right. So okay, so you guys recommend machines. I pick the machines, I set it up, then like I paid, and then what happens?
So after you've paid, you get a couple things that happen. One is you get an immediate dump of information and onboarding. So that's going to give you a ton of resources to set up a wallet, set up a mining pool, And those might sound like kind of technical terms, but basically, how you hold your funds and how you receive them are the two things that you need to set up, which we're happy to help you set up. Part of onboarding is getting on a call with Sydney, our fearless customer success lead. And he is there really to make sure that regardless of what your knowledge level is, you can get set up in under a half hour and be ready to mine by the time your machine comes in,
Oh,
which might be later that day if you paid and we had something in stock in the data center already plugged in.
okay.
So the next step after payment really is just scheduling that onboarding call where we're making sure that you have all of those aspects set up and that you're ready to receive funds. And then from there, the next step is just the miner doing what it does, which is find blocks and mine Bitcoin, and you see that coming in. So it's really that simple. Everything afterward is optional.
Okay. So then, okay, there's some holes in there which I'm trying to clarify. So the machine, I guess you guys will order it, it will come to your side and you guys will set up, right? I don't have to do anything, right?
Correct. You don't have to do anything. On the back end, what's happening is we have a network of vendors to procure these machines from. We're shipping them into our data centers. We're setting them up in those data centers, getting them networked, connected to power, doing all of our diagnostics and tests to make sure that it's going to run properly. And then once it's sitting on the rack, all that's waiting is essentially an address for everything to be sent to, which would be your address. And then once that's configured, the only thing that happens on the back end for you is that you watch money come in. For us on the back end, what we're doing is we're constantly monitoring it, making sure that the temperatures are cool on the chips, making sure that the environment is good, doing cleaning on a regular basis to make sure that the computer's running at peak efficiency, and really just keeping an eye on it, the way that you would manage a property or manage one of your active investments. We are the active manager, making sure that everything is running properly in that facility so that it truly is passive income.
Okay. Okay. So do I have to set up the address myself or can you guys help?
We absolutely help you. Everything is in that welcome packet for someone to do it themselves if they'd like to. A lot of people are self-starters, but we make it super simple so that you can do it on the call with Sydney if you prefer. And he is very practiced at this point at getting people set up with both a pool and a wallet by the end of that call.
That's why I like you guys so much because like me included, my audience really love concierge services. So we try to provide that too. Like we actually have full-time people providing concierge services to all my audience. So you guys provide that to the Bitcoin mining aspect. So that's good. And I guess once the address there, you guys enter it into I guess into the pool and then whatever mined, that wallet address will just receive the Bitcoin, right?
Exactly.
Okay, okay. And you mentioned dashboard. Can people see that all the time? Like, is it real data?
Yes, you can see up to the minute exactly what's going on with your machine, exactly how much hash rate it's contributing to the network. Hash rate is just computing power. So basically seeing how much work your computer's doing. And then you've got a real-time view of payouts as well.
Perfect. Now, that's um the now I think you may need to explain something about mining pool for people who actually don't know what they are.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a deep topic. I'm gonna try to just do the overview because we could talk about pools
That's
for
okay.
like
I
10
can help you
hours.
sum up. I can help you
Uh,
sum up for my audience who probably doesn't know anything about it.
So just a basic like what is a pool? So I mentioned that Bitcoin mining is essentially a lottery, right? Where you're guessing a number and every 10 minutes one machine guesses the right number and wins that lottery. The probability of you guessing the right number with your, let's say, one machine is very small. Like 1 to I think 50 million are the odds right now if you're running a single high efficiency machine. So that's not a great way to get consistent payouts if you're
Like
just
getting lottery, right?
exactly. You're waiting for one lottery ticket to hit. All that time you're paying for electricity, you've got this machine that you paid for, right? It's not a very reliable process. So what happened early on in the network after it got to a certain size was these things called pools formed, where you and thousands or millions of other machines are all going at the network at the same time in a unified fashion. You can think of it sort of like a group buying pool for the lottery. So when one machine in that group wins, you split the proceeds evenly according to how much work you contributed. And so in that way, a pool is essentially taking out the risk of you having to win the lottery yourself and making sure that you're paid for the work that you contributed along with everybody else because you're going at the network together. And pools have different designs. There's different ways of doing this. So there's not just one pool. There's more than 30, and they all have slightly different ways of paying out. We have two different ones that we use most often. People can choose whatever they want, but we have two that we're very familiar with and like to support. One is exactly that model that I just described, which is everybody's contributing work, and then when that pool wins the block, it's split evenly and in a uniform fashion. And then the other one is slightly different. Rather than getting a consistent payout stream, it pays out exactly when the block hits. So I probably just got too technical, but essentially the difference is, am I getting a recurring income stream that I can divide up every hour, every day? That's one model. The other model is I only get paid when the pool actually finds the block. So I'll stop there because there's probably a question at that point.
Okay, okay. You know what? I have a really good story to tell to people so they can understand what a pool is. Because I didn't understand until it happened to me. And I was like, whoa, my goodness. So you know how you mentioned, I don't know if you know this, I don't know if Cindy told you this, but you know how you mentioned mining a block is like one out of like 50 million chances, right? So
Yes, yes.
on day six, when my machine got in the pool, it actually mined a block. I didn't know what that meant. And then I realized, no, because it's like I bought a lottery. I win the lottery. However, I bought with a group, so I gotta share all my winning with the group. So, so actually, I was lucky when I bought a lottery. I win the lottery, but because I bought with like thousands of people, um, I'm still getting the small consistent return, but I'm not getting that lottery payback. So that's what it means to mine in a pool, which means that the ch so if you think you're super lucky, you can win the lottery by yourself. Don't mine in the pool. You mine, you be a solar miner, just mine yourself. But know that you may actually not end up winning the lottery. So all your costs and all your electricity goes to waste. And all your electricity bills goes to waste.
Yeah, and the way that I see people doing this that want to kind of like play both sides that I think is totally reasonable is let's say you have 100 machines. You point 99 of them to a consistently paying out pool where you're just getting your share of the work and that's covering all your operating expenses and still making you a great profit. And then you've got that one lone ranger who's going out and facing the world and trying to take home the bacon at all times. And that's the way that I'd personally do it if you want to lottery mine is what it's called or solo mine.
Right. So that's why I'm setting up the second batch because I cannot believe I win the lottery. So I'm gonna okay, hopefully it happens to me again. But essentially money in the pool means you're buying group lottery. So your returns are steady. Your regardless if you win or not, somebody else gonna mine that block. Somebody else gonna win the lottery in that group. So you are just getting small, steady gains. Whereas if you don't mine a pool, you just mine on your own, you can either lose everything because you're not hitting any block, you're not winning the lottery, or you could win the lottery and get all the winning to yourself. So you either go big or go home. So that's, I guess, the difference. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, in business, you would say hope is not a strategy,
Right.
and hoping that you're going to hit the block is not a strategy for
Yeah.
consistent returns, but it does
Funny.
happen, and
That's right.
statistically, it can happen. It just doesn't happen that often. So,
Oh, yeah.
there's opportunity, but also risk if you want a lottery mine.
Apparently, your team was so excited that my machine hit a block on day six. They even did a sticker and they did a whole like dance around
It's
it.
really cool,
It is.
and what's so cool about it is Bitcoin is an open network. So It exists all over the world. Anybody can use it. Anybody can tap into it. Anybody can verify the network, mine on the network. And so what's so neat is that you had one piece of computing equipment that in a moment was the backbone of security for the network, and we can show exactly when that happened and how it happened. And that to me is just beautiful. That's
Yeah.
really beautiful design that anybody around the world can secure the world's money for everybody else. And you got to participate in that. And that's super cool.
Yeah, I feel like I really contributed something to the world.
You did.
That's great. Okay, so the last bit is that once once I know in the pool because for safety because we always tell people be conservative, mine the pool so you're getting small but steady returns. The return people are getting are fraction of Bitcoin, right? So once it hits certain level, I guess they get Bitcoin directly sent to their wallet, right?
Exactly. Again, at risk of being too technical, people are like, how often can I withdraw my money from the pool? And the answer is you could do it daily, you could do it hourly if you wanted to. But the analogy I like to use is you probably wouldn't want to get paid every minute in pennies from your boss if you were taking a paycheck. It probably makes more sense to get a check or a direct deposit at the end of the month because it's less work. And in reality, on the network, I have a personal story for this. I had two different mining operations running in different circumstances, but they both had a very similar payout at one time. And what was interesting was these two different parallel streams. I had one bulk payout after 90 days of mining. This is $15,000. And then I had one group of miners that paid out every single day for 90 days for $15,000. And when I moved that money into my long-term hold account, I have to move that money on the network. So I'm paying transaction fees just like anybody using the Bitcoin network to another miner to move my money on the network. The one lump sum that came in all at once cost me $2 to move. The 90 individual transactions that I had to then combine and move to a new place cost $500 to move. So the more you split up these transactions, the more fees you incur when you eventually combine them and then move them somewhere else. So for people that don't have a fleet of, I would say, hundreds of units, it probably makes sense to take either twice a month or once a month payouts.
So it's just like salary cycle. Got it. Okay. Great. Now that everybody is expert on the full mining process, comes my one of my favorite sections.